Can you please put into and this is from April the 25th at about 4:43 p.m., back and forth. Can you put in context for us what you're talking about here?
Talking about the third rotation that James was in, how it was going, because we were probably preparing to give our third rotation talk, and he didn't have any data, so no really analysis to do.
Is that a problem?
No, it's common actually in a rotation. You only have 10 weeks to have a project and generate data, so it's not always uncommon to have no data. A majority of the rotation talks are background, because it takes a lot to kind of introduce the topic you're discussing. So no, it's not uncommon. It happened.
This is probably a good time to ask you about, since you're a student, and we've had the professor perspective, but from the student perspective, what is more important as you go through the neuroscience program, the academic classes or the lab rotations?
I would say the lab rotations. I mean, you have to pass your classes, but if you think about it, in our program, we're going to be in the lab for 5+ years, and the coursework is only, a year. So yeah, you have to pass it, but you also have to have a good rotation and a project to work on for the remainder of your thesis.
Now, is there a different skill set in your experience that you need to be successful in a academic classroom setting versus the laboratory setting?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So even in the classroom, there's still more work involved than a regular undergraduate class. There's more responsibility on the student, but still you're guided through it because you have a syllabus and the professors are giving lectures and you know what to study. In the lab, it's definitely you have to the student has to take control over their project, and they always say science is your baby. I mean, they say that in this is school, and it's true because you have to take care of it. You have to think about it when you're not in class. You have to think about it when you're not in lab, and it's your responsibility to drive that project forward. So if you're used to kind of someone holding your hand and walking you through what exactly you have to do, in most cases, most labs, that would be hard to, in most labs, professors are not going to do that. So
more self-initiative.
Yes.
Can we get, please, page 17, right in the middle? This is still part of the same text string, but at some point during this, is that the defendant asking you out for a hike?
Yeah.
Now, you hadn't approached him about the hike. He asked you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you. And so there's a lot more text that goes on after this, but what ends up happening?
We go for a hike.
Where did you go do that?
In Golden Gate State Park. Golden Gate Canyon State Park.
In fact, can you get us to 22, ma'am, at the top? And is that it? Is that when you solidify, hey, we're going to go on this particular date?
Yes.
All right. Talk to us about what you did on that hike, and you can take that down. Thank you.
He chose the place. Ironically, I had never been there before, and I'm from Colorado. I think that's initially why he asked me, because I like doing things outdoors. So yeah, he chose it. We decided when we were going to go, the time.
Who drove?
He did.
And did he do anything else to prepare for this hike?
Brought snacks, like Gatorade, and...
How would you describe the level of preparation for this short day hike?
I mean, usually if I go hiking, I'd just bring water maybe, but other people always bring snacks. I didn't think it was over prepared, but just kind of all right, cool, he wants to bring snacks, that's fine.
How long were you guys hiking?
I think we went from about 1, and I had to be back by 6, so around there with the driving time and everything. So, a fair amount of time.
Who did most of the talking on the hike?
Me, probably, because I'm a chatterbox.
Nonetheless, did you have decent conversations with the defendant?
Yeah.
And do you remember what you talked about this much time later?
Probably, I don't remember in particular. Nothing stood out that was weird or just out of the ordinary, just normal conversation about, what my family did, what his family did, what what he saw himself doing in the future, what kind of, job, since we're, in grad school, what we're there for, and rotations probably.
Did the defendant seem to be more at ease talking with you in that setting than either in the classroom or the hallways, anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after the hike, where did you guys go?
He just dropped me back off at my house.
Was it at all awkward at the end there?
Well, yeah, because I didn't want it to be perceived as a date or something. So, I think he got out of his car and, we hugged or something and then said goodbye. But there's always that little awkward lingering, like, oh gosh.
Yeah. You're both sitting in the car kind of thing, that sort of.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Lock the door?
Yeah.
Nothing like that?
Nothing like that.
Okay. Now, there was something else, by the way, that came up before you went on the hike. Did you, in these texts, and I'm referring now to page 28 at the bottom, ma'am. You told him, it looks like, that your house had been broken into. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then can you please go to 29, just the upper 2/3, a little bit down. Okay, now a little more down, ma'am. Thank you. Does he express to you any concerns about his own safety in any of these text messages?
No.
Has he ever, even on the hike, expressed to you any concerns about his own safety based on what you've told him?
No.
The burglary, the attempted burglary that took place at your place, were you there for it?
Yes, I was.
And can you tell us, was there ever a screen that was cut to gain access to your apartment?
Not that I remember, no, just broken glass. Like, it was in a house, so the back door was broken into.
Thank you. Can you please go to 31, ma'am? Now, this again is still before the hike, but and can you blow up that top portion? Thank you. What kind of conversations are you getting into here?
What we're going to do after we pass prelims and get into the program and choose a lab. Stay here more long term.
Had you given any thought to buying a house or anything?
No. I always wondered how grad students could actually do that on their stipend.
Okay, can you go to 42? Now, I don't want this to be awkward either, but is there more banter being initiated here by the defendant?
Yes.
Would you consider this flirtatious?
Yes.
All right. Keep going down if you would, ma'am. By the way, do you guys ever end up going out again after that initial hike?
No.